Welcome to Mudimo Awaz, a podcast presented by Musico. I'm your host Mohua. On this podcast, we will talk to dreamers, unsung heroes who have broken the rules as they swam against the current and renewed their vows to themselves as individuals. The believers who've been crazy to start ventures that have made a difference to society and the lives they've touched with their magnanimity and knowledge. As for me, I was in the communications business in a leadership role and also been a homemaker. The slow death of my self-confidence that went unnoticed over the years, when self-worth was based on the validation I sought from others. Quoting the author Elif Shafak, do not go with the flow, be the flow. Hi, welcome to Mudimo Awaz, and in this episode we have Bhavna. Bhavna is the founder of Artist Adda. It's a platform for performing and visual artists where they join hands and showcase their talent in a warm and unconventional environment. She started this community with a bare few, which now has reached a whopping number of 1,500 plus online and 500 plus offline members. Wait, there's more. Bhavna is not just a branding, promotions, and a media professional, but a poet, voice actor, writer, thinker, traveler, mother, and a dreamer in no particular order. Oh, and did we mention that she also has very recently started her entrepreneurial journey? She's a budding entrepreneur with her cloud kitchen venture that is doing roaringly well in Delhi. Welcome, Bhavna, onto my show and tell us the genesis of your story.
Hi, Mohua. Thank you so much for having me on Moody Mohawaz. I'm so glad to be speaking with you. Thanks to technology, we are far away from each other, but still so connected. Okay, the journey has been long, arduous, but very, very worthy so far. And I hope to continue on the same note. Um, where would you like me to begin?
I think, Bhavna, it would be very inspiring for women to know your entire journey. I remember, we had spoken once and you mentioned to me about your entire life journey, about how you've been, you lost your mother at a very young age. And then from there on, you went on to becoming an entrepreneur today. Just the whole journey about how you started, your writing journey, your entire life itself, I think is inspiration for so many of us when we feel completely that we're down and out and we won't be able to manage the next day tomorrow. Especially now with COVID, I think we're all on a very thin foundation mentally, psychologically. And I think your story would really resonate with a lot of women out there. So tell me how it began.
Well, that's so nice to
Your,
hear that, I have been inspiring for somebody somewhere. That will be a huge thing for me. I am touching 50, and what I remember for the past as many years is something when I was 5, and that is when I lost my mother. Okay, I'll be a little emotional on this note. Maybe the first few years. So from 5 to 50, maybe 45 years in as many words, if I may. Uh, yeah, you're right. I lost my mother at a very young age. I don't have any memory of her, which haunts me the most. I don't know how she spoke, how she dressed, how she smelled. I have no idea. And it was not just losing the mother that I have no memory of. I actually lost an entire family in the process because my father, who was keen to remarry and have a boy to take his name forward, did so within the first year of my mother's demise. And that somewhere in my very early childhood, in that little mind and heart of mine, it kind of broke me there. It was and obviously I was so young, I didn't know what was happening to me. It's only at a much later stage that I realized what was happening to me at that point in time. But yes, it was like a betrayal from my father. And I had an elder sister, but she was too timid to speak with my father about anything that she didn't like particularly. I, on the other hand, was the rebel from those early days. And my father obviously wasn't too happy about that fact that I was very vocal about things I didn't like. I refused to call her mom. Few other things that happened over the next few years, and he as he had planned, he had two more children in the next 3 years of his remarriage, and those two boys were suddenly they became his entire, center of the universe, and of course the new wife. So me and
Were you all staying together, Bhavna?
we were together, but me, my sister, and my grandmother were kind of, left in a room, and the other four were in another room, which was more like their life over there and our lives over here. And if you look at it in the conventional way, my childhood wasn't bad. I wasn't ill treated, or I wasn't, probably because I didn't allow anybody to ill treat me, maybe, and that was something that did of people. My stepmother was not very bright and not very educated. My mother was an English teacher. So I always had those comparisons in my baby mind that, my mom was here and she's there. And obviously, she also didn't feel the connect because there were no vibes from my end. And she didn't even try. That was also something that kind of haunted me in the later years as I was growing up in my teenage years. So in the young age, when you are 13, 14, 15, when your parents are actually worried for you because you're growing up, there was no one to tell me the right from the wrong. And there was no one to ask me if I'm coming late from the school, or where was I? It is 8 p.m. in the night and things are, environment is not safe, or something on those lines, which I found my other friends, their parents were constantly worried for them. And to, quite an extent, my parents were just not bothered. Like they just didn't care enough. I don't, at this stage in my life today, I don't want to completely blame them because I also didn't make the effort. But I also know deep in my heart that, when you are the elder, you are the one who's supposed to take that initiative. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm,
you were very young. If I were to,
yeah.
I mean, 5 years is really a tender age. And I mean, it must have been very. So, are you saying that your father was a victim of patriarchy and he wanted boys, to be his heir? And that's the reason that,
Oh,
both
yes.
you two
Oh, yes.
daughters were,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there is no two ways about it. And clearly, with my elder sister and me, he was just not happy with just having two girls in the house. And I think I'm not very sure, but I think that was also the bone of contention between my father and my mother, because my mother was not keen to have any more children even back then. She was just happy with the two girls, whereas my father was probably wanting to have more children with her, and that's where I think they were not getting along very well, which ended uh, in my mother's passing. So yeah, my father has always been from that patriarchal mind. I mean, he was a
How did you process Bhavna? I mean, if I remember that you had mentioned to me about your mother, when she passed away, how did you process the whole information when you got to know about her passing? How did it affect you as a child, and how did it spill over in your later years as a young woman?
Yeah. So again, going back to that age, at 5, you don't really, collect a lot of things in your mind, and you don't keep it with you for as many years. But yes, there are a few patches of the remembrance, the memories that I still have, I still hold, and the memories that still haunt me. Where me and my sister were taken to see my mother when she was literally, counting her last few breaths. And
How did she pass away, Bhavna?
it's too personal and it is too
Okay.
painful for me to mention also. But now that we are talking, I don't want to keep it to myself. So I'll I'll tell you how it all happened. That when my parents were not going along very well, my mother wanted to leave him and take the two girls with her, and she came from a very affluent, very well-to-do, very educated family. And my mother's family was all in support of her decision. Okay, and I'm talking of 1975, 76. This is not today. And in, somewhere in those days, those few fleeting moments, I don't know what went into her mind, And she had a very dear friend who was also probably going through a lot of marital discord, who had a much younger child than us. And the two of them at one given day, which was my father's birthday, incidentally, they chose to leave this world together.
Okay.
And they went on top of the Qutub Minar, which is in South Delhi, everybody knows. And they went to the top floor of that monument. They tied each other with a dupatta and they jumped. They jumped from there, and my mother's friend, I would say she was fortunate enough to land on her head, probably. And of course, it broke into 100 pieces, but she died immediately. My mother, on the other hand, got somewhere, on those parapets that are there from all that height to the earth, and she landed on her back. So she broke all her bones, she broke all her teeth, she broke a lot of, obviously, all her internal organs were damaged. She lost a lot of blood, but somewhere she was hanging by a thread and she was alive for the next 3 days. So those 3 days every year till now, they haunt me. They haunt me from the morning till the night. And I only feel a little better when it is the 14th of May, which was the day she was finally laid to rest.
So, having had such a progressive mother who, refused to cower down with your father, how is it this that you have taken your journey forward, especially having become an entrepreneur, creating a platform for artists and, your life? Where did you get all this strength and all of the kindness and the compassion that you have as a human being, Bhavna? So that requires a lot of spiritual ability to be able to be magnanimous as a person. So that must have come from a certain space in your heart, in your mind. what
Sure.
what would you owe that to?
So you know what, we the way life teaches us, no school, college, institution, person, experience can teach us. The way, I mean, my life has been a constant source of that those learnings for me. Of course, in the while the school times were on, I was a completely wild child, running around wherever I could because I knew nobody's asking, nobody's bothering, nobody's questioning. So I mean, in my mind, I had a ball of a time being, that rebel. And I'm very, very thankful. And somebody up there was watching me that, even with the kind of people I was running around, I didn't find myself with my slot thread and, lying in a ditch. It's 1 o'clock. Something on those lines. I'm sorry. Did that come to you also?
Yes.
Okay.
Oops.
So yeah, so coming back to that age in my life, I was very wild, quite a rebel, not listening to anybody, not thinking about anybody. And by the time I turned 18, I had learned to take the controls in my hand completely. I realized that that's not the life I wanted for me. I wanted to study to an extent, and then I wanted to make my own decisions. Something that I had been doing in the past also, but obviously they were not very sensible decisions. They didn't land me in a very great spot. So when I turned an adult and I reached my college life, I realized that this is not the life I wanted for myself, and I completely changed my perspective. I started getting a little serious about life. I had amazing set of friends all through. They have been my guardian angels. They have been, they have had my back. I mean, friends from my very early childhood. I still have friends from 30, 35 years, for the past as many years who've been with me all through, who are with me even today. So, and as I progressed, as I went along, I learned that it is important to be courageous. It is very trendy to be courageous. It is nice to be courageous, but that doesn't mean that you lose all kindness, all compassion. there
Which is
in
a very tough balance, to achieve, Bhavna.
true.
Because I think the more you meet people who are brave, who are, of course, we come from a generation where, I mean, we both are from the same generation, and we both have seen life where we were not encouraged to be courageous. Life has taught us to become courageous, and we have become courageous in the process, and we still retain that humility within us. I don't know if that holds true, for the younger generation who've had it way more easier today.
Yeah.
I would like to believe that it would not have changed, because compassion and courage is a brilliant combination.
Yes.
You know, yeah. So, how would you put these two together? But courage and compassion. A lot of people turn bitter. Which you're not at all.
Yeah, I consciously worked on myself to not turn bitter at all. I've
What
had
did you do?
oh, well, you know what? There isn't anything that you do per se, but you just look at life in a way where it doesn't affect you, where it brings you down, where it takes you to the real depths, and then doesn't allow you to come back. Yes, there are times when I feel very, very low. Yes, there are times when I'm literally, crouching on the floor and probably crying my heart out for a lot of reasons that have happened in the past. But that doesn't allow me, and that doesn't stop me from getting up and from, moving on, because as much of a truth was that betrayal, or that something that didn't happen as per my wish, this is also a reality that, okay, that has not happened, and now this is what it is. And that acceptance that I have in my heart, that if life is throwing me something like this, then there has to be something good in this for me. So I practice that thought very, very diligently. I don't allow things to affect me to the level that I'm not able to come back from there. That is something I have worked on myself. I've had an amazing married life also for about 23 years. I met the man of my dreams when I was very, very young, and he literally swept me off my feet, and he loved me and cared for me like nobody else
How
had.
lovely is that? And you have two beautiful boys, and I need to hear about them also.
Yeah, yeah. So my boys are, again, they have the best of their father and whatever I had to offer. And I have again raised them very, very independently. I have worked all my life, so obviously they were pretty much on their own. They are self-reliant boys, and they value. They have the right value. I would like to say, not just because I'm their mother, but I see them today in the world, and they are. My elder one is a sailor. He's a merchant. He goes all around the world and he comes back, and I don't see any change in him. He's been sailing for past as many years. I find him this person. The world has not been able to change him. So is the younger one. So I feel, somewhere something went absolutely right, and uh,
You're a star. Tell me about Artist Adda.
sure, Artist Adda is my favorite baby now. So what happened about 2 years ago was that both the boys had flown the nest, and I was all by myself, and I had quit a very nice, comfortable, cushioned job because I didn't want to work anymore. And I started this little community. There were a lot of like minded people who joined in. A few of them were my friends, a few of them were absolutely unknown people who are today just like my family, my extended family. And these are, myself included, we are people who are alone, but we are not lonely people. So that was the idea.
What do you mean by saying alone? Are they single
Oh,
people?
yes, a lot
Is
of them.
it
Single.
all of them, or is
No,
it a group only for the singles,
no,
like a dating app
no,
with
no,
music? Or
no. When dating happens, nothing like it. I would really like that also to happen. But so far, we are all just connected
with art?
yeah, on the artistic mode, on the like mindedness of the way we all can think, we all can look at life. That is what is the binding factor. And we have musicians, we have magicians, we have dancers, photographers, writers, poets, you name it. And I think I have basically anybody who can express himself or herself is welcome to join the community. We used to meet once in a month till about March, and then this COVID 19 stuck, and we've all been meeting virtually now, but we're still very much connected. And what I like best about the community and the way it has flourished is when somebody absolutely unknown walks in, with a little skepticism, which is the nature, and walks out hugging everybody in the group, saying, "I have found a family here, and it didn't feel like I'm meeting you all for the first time." That's my reward for having this community for
There are
16
so many people who would say that about you, Bhavna. It is the warmth that you exude. It is the person that you are, that you bring in positivity wherever you go. I've known you for so long. I would really like to know a little about your latest business venture, Handi Wale, right?
Yeah, Handi Wale. So imagine now again, the way I am, the way I think. When every small and medium business was had to wrap up their operations because of this tremendous duress of COVID-19, we jumped right into starting a venture. Okay, I, along with another friend of mine who also can't sit still for long, he and I, we were sitting together, and he's an amazing cook himself. He comes from Bihar. He's an engineer. He's an IIT alumni. And he said, let's do something like this. Let's start a cloud kitchen of sorts. You do the branding and advertising and promotions. I look after the kitchen. And let's cook something in a handi. Let's cook some storm in a handi and deliver it to people we love. And I jumped at the offer, absolutely. I jumped at the offer. And last month on 22nd July, we started the Cloud Kitchen, the delivery, all over Delhi NCR. And it's doing very well, touch wood. And we are getting rave reviews from people. They're really loving the food, the packaging, which is absolutely reusable, eco-friendly, no plastic packaging, mitti ki handi, corrugated boxes, seeds that you can grow in those handis, reuse them. So that's the concept, that's the venture, and as I
How
said,
is it doing in Delhi? You
it's
have to tell
doing
us.
very
Yeah,
well. It's doing very well, I would say, because considering we started in the month of Sawan, where a lot of North Indians and Biharis don't eat mutton, and mutton is our specialty. This is authentic Bihari cuisine, where
so you cook the mutton inside the handi?
we cook the mutton inside the handi. Yes, we do
Wow.
that.
I'm already
We
hungry.
do that. You need to come down and taste it.
So, Bhavna, you know what? You are an amazing writer, uh, voice artist. I would really want you to read to us one of your favorite pieces of writing that you've done for yourself
So,
or for Artist Adda.
sure. So I have written a lot, as per the mood, and not everything a person or a writer writes is a personal expression. Okay, it could be an experience somewhere here there, but it doesn't necessarily
Absolutely.
have to be a personal kind of a thing. However, something that I wrote recently, it's a small few lines that I would like to recite, and I think in Hindi, I write in Hindi, so I'll recite in Hindi if that's okay with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so here it goes. मैंने सपनों को सर पटकते देखा है। मैंने सपनों को सर पटकते देखा है, चूर होकर बिखरते देखा है। वक्त को हौसलों के पर कतरते देखा है, फिर हौसलों को उड़ान भरते देखा है। जो पांव अपनी ही बेड़ियों में जकड़े थे कभी, उन्हीं बेड़ियों को गलते हुए देखा है। जिंदगी ने तो लाख ठोकरें मारी, मैंने फिर खुद को संभलते देखा है।
Wah, wah. I have a lump in my throat listening to that. And I'm sure all the people who are tuned in will feel exactly like the way I'm feeling right now. I have a tear in the corner of my eye. And before I end, I would like to say that to people, whoever is listening to this show and they live in Delhi, there are people who say, and I quote, if you live in Delhi NCR and want to have just one friend, be friends with Bhavna. She's that one person who is an army in herself, and her heart is larger than anyone you would meet ever. I would vouch for that. You can find her on Instagram with her personal and professional handles. It is at Achi Bhavna, Apna Artist Adda, and at Handi Wale. Thank you, Bhavna, for being on the show. And I look forward to doing more work with you. And I will look forward to having more artists from Artist Adda coming on board and being a part of this show to share their journey with us and their art. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Mohua, and thank you, Moody Mohawaz. I hope I have done justice to the show.
Yes, you have. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Shukriya.
Take care.